thank you everyone for staying here until the very last part of our today's conference. It's a great pleasure to see so many nice and well-known faces around. I really want to welcome everyone that came here, and to say that for me it's personally a great pleasure to be here after 5 years, 11 conferences of Just Transition platform, and seeing the great community that has been formed thanks to the hard work of all of you and your engagement. It's quite fantastic. I'd like, of course, to thank my colleagues in the DG region for inviting me to be here to moderate this session. We have a nice bunch of speakers that will discuss communication and trust building in the Just Transition process, how we can better communicate what we are doing and why we are doing it, how to build trust on a fair transition through this communication, how to increase the visibility of the transition process through to everyone to stakeholders, those that are strongly engaged and those that are not aware or don't want to be stakeholders but are stakeholders in this transition process, which is a big challenge. Because ultimately the challenge of a just transition is about gaining the narrative. We need strategic communication, because it's not enough to, in the end, say we did a great and fair transition if people don't believe that happened. If people do not understand why the transition is happening, that we're not forcing the transition. Transition is there, and we're trying to manage it and make it fair. And if we cannot reach all the stakeholders involved and affected by this transition, if we don't win the minds, we lose the battle of what we're doing. We lose the trust on the institutions, the trust on national institutions, on regional institutions, on the European institutions. So this is all about building broad narratives and counter misinformation, but better than me to speak about these topics, we have here for highly experienced people in these areas. And you can see I'm very excited to chair this session, but I'll let them do the talk. And I'll start certainly by Konstantina, who's our keynote speaker. Konstantina is a researcher at Digital Communications Network Global, and has an extensive expertise in communication, stakeholder engagement in the context of transition and the just transition. She has been a frequent speaker on energy transition, on social dialogue, community engagement, all the topics we need to touch here today. And is strongly involved with our community, being an expert in the UCall advisory group and on the JTP peers, or JTPers rather. And being herself closely involved on projects across the Western Balkans and European Union. So Konstantina, you are also the chair of, I have it written here because I'll not be able to say it without having it written here, Action 2 on Good Communication Practices of the Just Transition Platform Stakeholder Engagement Group. Can you launch our debate today, please? And thank you for being here.
For the invitation, and I'm privileged to be among expert transition in this room. Thank you very much for giving me the floor to present the survey conducted in the frame of the Just Transition Stakeholder Working Groups. In the Action 2 of this Just Transition Working Groups, actually we are working on issues of communication, and we have conducted and research among experts in EU core regions. And today I'm very happy to present this, what this survey has shown about the communication issues in core regions. First of all, the results show that the communication goals for the just transition are to raise awareness and facilitate dialogue and participation, targeting primarily local residents and SMEs with a major focus on youth and comparatively less attention to call workers. Communication efforts relied on social media, websites, public meetings and workshops, while traditional media, such as local newspapers and radio, remain significant, and online forums are steadily growing for digital engagement. To address misinformation, most organizations focus on providing accurate information and building trust through transparency, while it is noticeable that only 11.1% of the organizations have no specific strategy about how to combat misinformation, and some rely on trusted messengers for credibility. Key challenges: limited funding, staff shortages, and difficulty in reaching target audience. Among those target audience are the youth and the co-workers, with many organizations struggling with limited communication resources that can reduce the effectiveness of their efforts. Most stakeholders are satisfied with collaboration, even there is a limited funding, and view cooperation as a key enabler of effective communication. Communication strategies are generally solution-oriented, emphasizes opportunities and accessibility through funding and support programs, while maintaining a balanced focus on policy, regulatory changes, and environmental, social, and economic dimensions. Overall, most organizations view their communication impact positively, though 1 in 3 see room for improvement, highlighting the need to share best practices and learn from successful examples. Those are the main findings of the research conducting. In the following months, we will show you the results in more detail, and we are open to any questions that you have got based on that results. Thank you, Francesco, for giving me the floor to this research.
Thank you. Thank you. I forgot to explain that in the end you'll have the chance to ask questions to our panelists, but I will go first to everyone. I was just listening to you, Constantina, and something that strikes me is the limited communication resource. Limited resources is something that we all face. I face that at home every day. We all face every day. If on the face of these limited resources, and from these results and your experience, what would be the most impactful tools that you recommend to us in terms of properly communicating our just transition initiatives?
What actually is missing in communicating this Cold Tradition initiative is that we should have a common communication strategy. There are separate examples, good practices about how to communicate about just transition, but unfortunately we don't have the same messages, we don't have the same strategy, and we don't have the same, let's say, road to an effective communication. What is missing, I would also stress out that we should have shared vision, shared messages, and shared faction tools in order to achieve what we want during these Cold Traditions programs. How to approach the people on the ground. This is something that we should take into notice, that it's not only about conveying the message, it's how to make those that they are involved in just transition to get involved in the just transition process. And communication, and effective communication, is not just a matter of communication, it's a tool of transition. We all have people, regardless if someone is a co-worker, if he works in a national authority, or he is employed in a local SMEs in coal regions, should have the same shared, let's say, vision and the same shared opportunities when they hear about just transition. We have to tell them a story, and this story is our story, the story of coal region and coal transition in the regions in the coal phase out process.
Thank you, and I really share that idea that building up collectively a story that we can then communicate collectively is key to have a successful joint transition or joint process. But I'm sure you'll be asking more questions on this. But before I allow you that, I'll move to our next speaker in this session, which is Anita Abolinha, sorry. Close enough, I hope, who's Head of Communication Public Relations for the Vidzeme Planning Region in the northeast of Latvia. The Vidzeme Planning Region participates actively in several EU-funded projects addressing climate action, peatland restoration, which is a key element there, and the reason why you have just transition funding, and citizen involvement in the transition process, the mindset you need to win. And as such, and beyond that, you lead strategic communication initiatives supporting the green and just transition with a focus on regional development, sustainability, and community engagement. So looking forward to also hear from you, and especially on the question I have for you. First, thank you for being here, for making the trip to Brussels. I understand it's your first time in our conference. I hope it's not going to be the last one that you'll be joining us, and you understand how great a community this is, and you can join us in the future. You've been involved in several transition projects, mostly in your region. From this experience, what is the most effective way to build trust with citizens, with people who are often suspicious? We have landowners, local communities. How can you build trust with people that are not instinctively attracted by the transition?
Yes, thank you for the question, and thank you allowing me to be here. So first of all, what I would like to say that just transition or climate neutrality and such kind of concepts, this is European level concepts, which should be definitely taken down and translated into the local narrative. So what do I mean by this? That the EU goals should be bring back to the local people needs, and this is, I think, what also previous speaker addressed. I'm sure that no one wakes up in the morning thinking, what else I could do today to reach the goal for climate neutrality 2050? I believe so. So this is what I'm talking about, that you have to bring down to the local narrative. And to do so, from my experience, there should be a very strong key messages to the stakeholders, sometimes maybe a little bit different, slightly with a different focus, depend on the focus group. And to do that, you need to know your target group very well. You do need to know their needs, their concerns as well, because then you can use these concerns into your narrative, into your key messages, and also be prepared just for a case, or at least avoid some obstacles. And communication do things really well and can help for this transition process, definitely. What else from my experience I would like to address is this individual communication. From your research, I thought very interesting perspective to raise campaigns or use social media, which is very common today, but I think we live in a very overcrowded information space when you can't actually reach especially very specific target groups. So we do, because we are working with landowners which owns former historical peat extraction sites, which appear to be their lands now, and they don't know what to do with this. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that we can raise awareness of the society, but we can't reach these target groups directly on these popular channels. And what else lets this individual communication help us is that we're open for a conversation. This is what you can't do in a social media or in a campaign, because it's one direction. But when you have these individual means, like what we do, we write them, we phone them, we ask them to come to the seminar, for example. So this is a space where they can talk to us. We can explain, first of all. They can ask and we can answer immediately. We can give good examples. We can motivate, maybe help imagine what the result could be together. And this is how we can stimulate their trust and their interest. So I think that to sum up is that this story should be their story. So they need to find themselves in this story, and then I think we will be successful. This is for a moment a comment from me.
No, thank you. I think we start seeing a common theme in the two interventions we had so far. The need to go local, to make the story of your counterparts. My follow-up question would be: are you able, through these direct? I'm really impressed with the personal approach you have to the stakeholders, to landowners, to the different elements of local communities. How successful has this been in making them from subjects of transition into actors of the transition? Do you see that happening? Do you see a change in the community through your this personalized engagement?
Yes.
Or what else need to be done?
Definitely. They need to be not just informed, but also involved. That's the perfect plan, I think. I can also share my experience that we communicated with our target groups and chose to use opportunity narrative. So this is how we brought down EU goals. So we offered opportunity, and in our case, the message would be something like: you have a resource in your pocket, so this historical peat extraction site. You don't know what to do with it, but you can definitely now give a new value for this territory. So we are here to support you. You don't need to be forced to do that. This is your voluntary will. To join or not, but we inform you that there is a support, there's great instruments available, and just think about it. And we will come back with this question. And of course, there's a plan behind that when we will come back and by what means we will do that. But yes, this is a clever strategical plan. What you also mentioned, that there should be something behind. You need to know the concerns ahead to address very well. And another part I think is also very important, which is also touched during these days, is educational informational flow, which is going parallel. So to know more about this topic, to know each other, to know how many we are, like the landowners for the historical peat extraction site, to come together, to know the strategy for revitalization, what kind of methods there are, why to do that, and so on. So this education and information is also very important. But yeah, you have to bring back to them this local narrative and opportunity you offer.
Very good, thank you. What I think we can see from your example is, because we talk a lot about co-regions and the stronger community feeling in co-regions, but we can see from what you're describing that this building of promoting this local community is important for all just transition regions, irrespective of the reason they are in this transition process. Even in regions that we see less as these tight communities as we normally think of other regions. And congratulations on the work you're doing, the fantastic work in building this community approach and getting new actors to the transition. That's what it is all about, from what I understand. If you allow me, I'll move on. We'll move on because I really want to give the floor to you. And we move to Emilia, who's here sitting next to me. Thank you for sitting next to me. You were brave enough. Emilia Saravska has an MSc in Energy Systems and is an advisor for energy efficiency and renewable energy sources at the municipality of Bitola in North Macedonia, and can give us the experience that we have from outside the European Union, because Just Transition, we talk a lot about Just Transition in the European Union because we came motivated from the funds, especially coming from DG Regio myself. The funds narrative is very frames us a lot. But of course, the Just Transition, as we have shown in every conference since over and over again, is relevant for everyone, especially for a country that I hope will be a member state in the not so in a few years. Emilia will kind of explain us her experience in North Macedonia. I know it's not that far from the European Union that you live. Emilia works as a coordinator for projects in the municipality on the areas she's an expert in, energy efficiency and renewable energy, and has represented the initiative, the municipality, the initiative for coal regions in transition in Western Balkans and Ukraine, so knows very well what we're talking about, and has participated in knowledge exchange programs in Greece, in Estonia, so across Europe, has experience all across Europe, also from numerous conferences and forums. So, welcome to our conference. So, what I had here as a question for you is, in transition regions, you have permanent to balance two narratives. We want to pass a narrative of hope, and there are going to be brighter futures, but the immediate response of people is one of loss. You see jobs being lost, the young leaving often, you see infrastructure that you praised going rotten. It's a sense of loss that you need to counteract with our positive approach in a way that does not sound hollow. How to communicate, how best to communicate this kind of approach? What is your experience from just outside on the door to the European Union, both, I hope, physically and temporarily? How do you see the best way to communicate this to the people around you?
Thank you for the invitation. First of all, I would like to explain one little bit thing, that Bitola as a city is in southwest part of Macedonia, so it means only 13 kilometers with the border with Greece. And near Bitola, only on 12 kilometers, there is a thermal power plant, REG Bitola, is the biggest, which produced 50 to 60% from electricity for our country. So we are in coal region. I will say we have the same valley with the Greece, which is attractive with the coal, especially with lignite. And I'm sorry because I didn't find one picture. It should be with drone with a valley, because in one side of this valley is a thermal power plant in North Macedonia, in the other part in Greece. So there is not a border between that valley. So one thermal power plant is in one country, the other one is in Greece. Greece is a part of European Union, we are not. So we have a lot of challenges. For example, I should say that in that thermal power plant there is 2,800 workers. Most of them are from Bitola. And with other workers who work for thermal power plant and for coal mine, there is 4,000 people. I will say no 4,000 people, I will say 4,000 families. Because there are a lot of families who lives with the salary from that people who works in thermal power plant or in a coal mine. And it's very difficult to explain to them people anything about just transition process. When you start with the word transition, everybody is feared from that word. You know, our country is in transition more than 30 years. So they're afraid. They don't see possibilities for good future when you say transition. They think that transition means that they will lose their jobs, or they will lose good salary, or they will lose something, I don't know, maybe something else. So first of all, we need to have good conversation, good explanation about everything, and also good examples what just transition means, not only for the workers, what it means for all country, what it means for our region, Pelagonia region, and especially we must do that with the good examples. And for example, we had a discussion about a month ago when some upscaling trainings were in a thermal power plant, and when they asked for workers to go there, they just ask, why you send me there? It means that you're training me for something else and I will lose my job. It's very difficult to explain to them that maybe that something new for them situation will bring them more money or better future. But believe me, it's very difficult, especially for people who are about 40s, 45, maybe that it's worse for people who are between 40 and 50. It's tough, but as a municipality from the other side, the good things is that it's not my words, it's words from the expert. Maybe we are the best municipality in the Western Balkan who did and who do something to explain what it means. Because, you know, coal workers and workers in thermal power plant, it's under ECM, that it's a state and government company. But as a local municipality at the local level, we have law and what we can do for our citizens. For example, with the project that we are going through in this last year and in these years, we just want to explain to people that we must start with our municipality, with the good examples there, and maybe the best thing that we've done last year, we were the first municipality, and still we are just the first and the last municipality in our country. We did forums for just transition with all stakeholders. 4 months we work with the stakeholders, I mean with the people from local community, from NGOs, from university, from business sector, from regional sectors for chambers of commerce, and everybody who wants to know something for just transition. And it's very interesting how people reacted when we discuss about it and were directly involved in that process. Actually, people want to be involved in the process, to know something about it, to be part of that. I think that they will believe much more in just transition process when they will be in some connection with that process. So after that forums, we had a lot of questions and suggestions and everything else, and I should say that it's one of good things, and actually after that a lot of media was present, where they were in that forums, and actually we said that, okay, this is one of the good examples that we should do as a municipality. To learn people, to explain to people, and actually the people must know what is under the municipality, what is under the local government, and what is under the central government. I will say that we did a lot of projects when actually people were involved, for example, for district heating, and there is a good examples when you explain to the people that district heating will be from the REC Bitola. They said, oh, what is that? Because we actually discuss about closing REC. Now we discuss about district heating from REC Bitola, but there is an opportunity as a good example, maybe for the future, to use our waste treatment water from that part with pumps, heating pumps, and to have a better future and actually to use renewable energy for something like that. Or I will say that there is a lot of projects and with the kids, and when you explain to the kids, maybe they are the target group, the best target group. For example, when we put solar panels in the schools, and they have opportunity on the big screen just to see how this energy is produced, which it means for them, they're happy. So I think that's the best practices in our region for now to do something else, to be close to the just transition for the people.
I see a lot of projects going on, a lot of ideas. Involving the youngest is always a great idea. They will be there to promote transition in the future. And I tell you that even I find very, very exciting to look at my solar power production every day. I'm sure the kids who are more or less my age will certainly find that most exciting. May I break protocol and allow me to go across the border? Because I see many common topics with Greece. Sorry for going back to you, but this brought me again. These are topics that you share also in your region. Is very much as we were saying jokingly before the borders. Somehow emissions don't respect the borders. Are these the topics that you see in Greece?
It's one of the topics because, as you said, the emissions don't have borders. So what happens on the one side affects the other side. So there should be some common, let's say, target on both border cities. One is the Western Macedonia in Florence, and the other is in North Macedonia in Bitola. And of course, there is this issue raising some objections from the people that live in Greece in this area, because they think that what happens in one area should happen to the other as well. So when we have got a time limit for coal phasing out in Greece, the same should go for the other side of the border, for North Macedonia. We know that Western Balkans the situation is a little bit different, and I think that North Macedonia is one of the countries that they have started the coal phasing out process. But definitely, it's something that both countries, Greece and North Macedonia, should pay extremely focus on how to deal with this, let's say, common issue.
Yeah, I see a lot of scope for cross-border cooperation there, and but I know also you're very much involved in these events. Also, I think you are the. I have one additional question on how difficult it is to do this from outside the European Union with the lure of less money or less money to lure people into the just transition.
It's not less money, it's not money, because we don't have just...
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Because we are not part of European Union, so we don't have just transition fund. So most of the money are from loans, and some of them are maybe grants or projects. We have very good cooperation, as Constantinia mentioned, with the Greece side. So we used a lot of IPA projects, cross-country border projects, and with the university, our university in Bitola, with the university in Kojani also. And also some organization, as I mentioned, regional regional chamber of commerce have very close connection with the Greece side, with Greece chamber. Also, we find ways to have cooperation, have collaborations, and also find ways to take a lot of projects. Maybe of them, maybe we participate with 20% or 30% in that project, but it's opportunity and the money to do something for our future.
Yeah, thank you. I was hoping you would say exactly as you said. It's not about money. It's also about money, but also the way you communicate.
It is about the money.
I thought you were saying the opposite. I was trying to convince you to say it's not about money, but about communication. But the fact that we are here together discussing common issues, I think it's part of the narrative that we have to build and part of the way forward. I have a question that I'll ask all of you, but before we have Agnes here, who comes from a very different background from the rest of the panel. Agnes Borg is head of the EU affairs for SSAB, which is a steel company from Sweden that is a global leader in special and premium steels. SSAB is leading the transition to fossil-free steel production across the globe and is currently investing 5 billion euros. I don't know how much that is in Swedish krone, to transform its Swedish steel production system. Agnes is based in Brussels and represents SSAB in all EU policy discussions. She has a background in political science and international relations, so she's the perfect person to complete our panel today. And I would be very interested in your experience, the experience of your company, because steelmaking is traditionally associated with very high pollution, always a very negative impact on climate, on environment. I know you are trying to change that, but there's still, when you say steel, that's where it comes to everyone's minds. How do you ensure that this journey you're taking towards a fossil-free steel is clearly understood and is trusted by your workers, by local residents, by the different audiences you address? Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me also here today to give a more industry perspective on these topics. So, yeah, as you know, steel is everywhere in our society, in all the different sectors, basically. So we do need steel, of course, to build sustainable societies. But steel making, or traditional ways of steel making, is associated with high CO2 emissions. And yeah, in Europe, for example, or in the EU, it's responsible for about 5% of CO2 emissions. So, of course, the steel industry transformation is very important. We need to adapt our ways of producing, and we also need to keep really the pace quite, to keep the pace, because it's important not just for the climate, but also, of course, for competitiveness reasons, which is discussed also quite a lot these days. So, as Francesco mentioned already, so SSAB, we are undergoing a transformation journey into decarbonized steel making. And we're investing currently about 5 billion euros to transform our Swedish production system. So we have production in Sweden, Finland, and also in the US. So our objective overall is to transform, to completely transform our Nordic production system. And we are basically eliminating 10% of Sweden's CO2 emissions by moving away from imported coal and blast furnaces to electric arc furnaces and local fossil-free electricity. And it also comes, of course, with energy savings. It comes with reduced operating costs. It comes with huge opportunities to modernize our facilities, to keep innovative edge, and to meet the customers' demand for decarbonized steel. And an important part of this, and since we are here in the Just Transition Platform and Fund Conference, we are investing now and building a new, very modern steel mill in Luleå, in the north of Sweden. And yeah, that's also the focus of the examples that will be given here today on communication in particular. But you asked about, and going to really the topics of the session here, you asked about how to make sure that what we do is well understood, etc. So I think first we need to, of course, be clear about why we are making this transformation more broadly, and I mentioned examples of this already. But then it's also, of course, more concretely about the effects that it has at the local level, for the local communities, for the local employment, for example, the environmental impact close to the sites, general information about the transformation, etc. And SSAB, so we have been making steel for a long time. We are a long-term player in Luleå. And something that, whereas the transformation is, of course, something much more recent, so we need to also be humble with that when we talk about these topics today. But what we believe is that continuous and transparent dialogue is very important. So something that we are doing, for example, is regular meetings with the local residents or those who live close to the sites. And this is not only to inform about what we are doing, but also really to listen and to answer questions or clarify any misconceptions that there might be. We believe that, people get more positive towards projects, towards the transformation, if they really understand the bigger picture, the drivers, the long-term effects, etc. So that continuous aspect, but also that it needs to be a two-way communication, because you need to be sure that you answer the right questions. And I think others have also been having the same type of notion before, to know your audience, to know what topics to focus on. And it's also about collaborating with others. Luleå is quite a unique geography. It's a small municipality, around 80,000 people, but there's very much happening here in the transformation. So we have 5 large industrial projects ongoing. And we are also looking at ways on how we can collaborate together. And there's, for example, something that's called the Green Industrial Forum now in Luleå. It's a collaboration between the industrial partners or projects, and we're also collaborating closely there with the municipality and other stakeholders. But amongst other things, there's one work stream there that deals specifically with communication, focus on public acceptance, how to address topics like information fatigue, or how to communicate about the transformation as a whole. So can we work together? Can we gather information? Can we communicate together in a way that makes sense to the audiences? I think just lastly, you also spoke about the more skeptical audiences. So I already mentioned, I think it's important to answer and clarify any misconceptions that there might be. But also perhaps to focus on, the angle or the interest of the one who is posing the question, or the receiver of the information that you're giving. So it might be more about the longer-term climate impacts, but it might also perhaps rather be about the immediate local environmental positive impacts, or about the modernization aspects, or about how it can contribute to more efficient use of capital, or it can be many different things, but to also to kind of tailor your responses to what is of interest to.
That last topic is one that interests me a lot, because it's came across everything we discussed. And also something said about communication fatigue, because you need to cater for different groups. You try to reach out to them, but not all are available. The way you reach out to your current workers must be different from your former workers, from a youngster who may not consider working for the factory, or are considering how to work for a factory but are afraid of their future. This must be a huge challenge to reach out to all these different groups. Another element is how to bring in a different narrative that we are building in the European Union about a more open strategic autonomy, and the idea that still is going to be here in Europe and needed to be here, which is a plus for you maybe. How do you communicate this conjunction of elements of we must do a just transition, we must continue to produce steel, we must continue to be competitive because the European Union is not likely to close itself immediately, and communicate this to all sorts of these sort of audiences? How do you put all these challenges together?
It's quite a big question indeed.
It's a short question for 10 seconds.
No, but I think what you first pointed to with the different groups and audiences. So of course you can create your own fora and call to your own meetings, and that has of course a role to fill. Larger town halls where you invite a wider community, perhaps, etc. But I think what we are also exploring now more and more is also identifying the outlets that are available for the target groups. So maybe someone else is organizing a regular networking evening where you could join as a speaker, or to really go where you see that the audiences that you're perhaps are maybe not the ones who usually come to your events or who you don't most frequently speak to, where they are. So, and I think there also the collaboration is important as well. For example, in Luleå, there's also an exhibition in one of the shopping malls called the Luleå Way, which is also aiming to inform about the transformation as a whole. So you need to be in many different places and keep exploring and learning from what works. I think for SSAB, it's also, we have a strong overall presence, which a lot can already be built on as well. So we try to invite, for example, upper secondary school students to learn about what we do. We recruit summer workers who regularly as well. And we try also to contribute to how can we create interests for perhaps the more science, technical type of topics at an early age. Then, you mentioned also the employees, and also actually with great support from the Just Transition Fund, we have set up something that's called the SSAB Academy, which is an initiative for employee skills development in view of our transformation. So we have started some pilot educations, for example, but also looking at what, if we look forward, what are going to be the skills that we're really going to need, what type of work will we require more of in the future. So that's also an initiative that is ongoing.
Very good, thank you. I also take note of the importance that you mentioned briefly, but very important, of working with the local authorities. And it's probably a message for all of us, because most of us around here work for public authorities, being there European, national, or local, that the need to work with local industry to complete the transition. But before I give the floor to the audience, because we're slightly ahead of schedule, we had a speaker that unfortunately for personal reasons could not make it. I have a question for all of you, because I have the pleasure of chairing something that probably goes against the EU Charter of Human Rights, which is a whole women panel. There's no gender balance here. So I have a question for all of you. I will start with you, but if you all want to answer, I appreciate, Emilia, which is, is it different communicating to women and men? Your experience makes it that, is it different? Do you have to feel people react differently? Do you feel you need to act differently? And
Unfortunately, yes. I will say that maybe we should take like this, maybe when you discuss with the women and the men, there is a different target groups, for example, because if you want to discuss with a woman, it's something that it's, if you want to give a strong message then it's good to discuss about, for example, everyday life. Because when you discuss about family health, about clean air, about energy costs in your home, it's easier to discuss with a woman. When you try to discuss about technical things, then it's easier to discuss with a man. So that's, so I will say that, no, I mean, from my personal opinion, when I try to discuss about technical things, it's easier to do that with a man, to be honest. But actually, it's good to be a woman in this world, especially in just transition process, and it's not easy every time, but it's good, and I think the women should have much more and intensive situations and projects to do and everything else, yes.
Okay, we have very different, a very wide European representation on stage. Well, very wide, a bit, well, 2 regions. But do you share this idea, Anita, or you have a different experience about these?
I think, thank you for the question. That's something
terrible.
which I, no, it's very interesting. I like this kind of questions. Actually, well, my personal opinion would be that it depends. I wouldn't say so for 100% that technical is more for the men and emotional more for the women, but it depends on the person. I would say that science probably could help us to answer this, and there's definitely some patterns behind. But I think it comes back quite a lot to the point I mentioned before, that there are a society as a common living lab where you can just send the message in different envelopes. So you just adjust some key messages for the target groups and address some focuses, which lately brings them back to the same place. So quite philosophical thoughts, but yeah.
So we need to adapt communication.
We'll bring back this to home.
Agnes, do you want to add something?
Well, I think, of course, we are still in a society where we have sectors or jobs that are more considered or traditionally male or female. That's just how it is at the moment. So I think what I just said before about reaching students early, reaching people early, to create interests in a range of different topics and really being clear of all the options that are out there to really choose from for the young generation is important. I think, steel is an example where of a sector where, there's quite a difference in.
May I pick just very quick there? Do you see more? Because steel is traditionally a men's world. Are you reaching out to try to get more women, and are you achieving to get more women into hard work on the factory plan?
Yes, what I was saying, I mean, I think we're trying to reach our communication to everyone and to make sure that the type of what it might be aspects of our transition, but also about our jobs today and in the future, to make sure that the opportunities are shown for everyone, be they man or women.
Konstantina.
Well, I have to mention that we should keep in mind that one of the vulnerable groups in cold transition process, apart from the youth, because we constantly concentrate and focus on youth, are women. And unfortunately, we haven't seen any good communication practice that is targeted and is concentrated and centralized to the women, how much women get affected by this cold phasing out. So I would say that this is an issue that probably that we should take into more consideration. And this is something that we also should focus more, I think, in the forthcoming working groups as well. Because we have equal opportunities, they don't have, let's say, equal opportunities are for all, for men and women. And there are equal opportunities in this just transition process, even if we can say that for sure men and women are affected in a different way, but both are affected seriously by this coal phasing out. But however, in this coal transition, both women and women have got great opportunities to get a better living or to develop their lives in a different way. So I will be very much pleased and curious to see and more a focus group and more target group on women. As I said, I think that it is something that all should take into consideration about this distinction about women and women and how much they get affected by the coal phasing out process.
Thank you. I think really we have very different experiences all across Europe, but that's a common issue. I do remember, for example, in the Netherlands, there's a all-women project that was the winner of award last year, 2 years ago, that really focused on women, but maybe this is the example we need to expand a bit beyond. Groningen, even though they don't pronounce Groningen, they have a very nice project that focus on the impact on women. You want to add something?
I totally agree with you. There are some good communication practices, but maybe we should focus more on those communication practices that make reference to women and the vulnerable group, because we keep saying that the vulnerability, the vulnerable groups, but we keep forgetting in that, I think, it's my opinion that we keep forgetting the role that the women play in this coal phasing and out, and that it is one of the vulnerable group that get affected by this process.
Thank you. I think it's time we give the floor to our audience. I would appreciate that. Raise your hand and you'll be given a micro. Identify yourself, and if you have a specific member of the panel addressing your question to, please say so, even though of course everyone will be allowed to give their opinion. Please let us know if you have questions for our panelists.
Hello, my name is Dorota. I work in DG Regio and the unit working on the Baltics and Finland. I have a question to Anita. Considering the geopolitical situation where Latvia is now putting a lot of money into defense, which really puts a huge economic pressure on municipalities, and there are plenty of things that municipalities, especially those at the border with Russia, have to do. You know, different logistic things, which also cost time and money. Do you see? Does this have an impact on your work and on the engagement of the stakeholders? In the sense that when the Just Transition Plan was developed, the situation, the war hadn't started yet, so there was a different situation. But now we have there is a lot of pressure on municipalities and on people in general. And I'm wondering, does this affect their capacity to actually engage, to co-finance, you know, to find the time, and is let's say, is just transition still a priority for people, or is it something that is competing now with more urgent, let's say, problems?
Yes.
This is very specific. I think you can go before we collect other questions. Have a go.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And yes, indeed, the circumstances has been changed a lot. Yes, you're right. The priorities maybe also has been changed a lot. But anyway, also regarding the project, we are also at the moment implementing regarding the peat extraction sites. The new discussion has arisen in the audience whether to use these territories also in the sense of defense. So discussion is, I would say, widen up rather to narrow down, because maybe this could be also some extra activities and extra target to reach. So on the border regions, municipalities, there are also some peat extraction sites which could become a natural defense object. So we will take into consideration when we will make revitalization strategies for the landowners, what they can do there. And this military defense aspect will be also taken into consideration. So I wouldn't say that it's like turned down the attention from the Just Transition Fund and the goals, but it complements and widens.
Thank you. Have another question?
Yes, my name is Alexandru Kelemen. I'm from Jiu Valley, Romania. Coming back, not for the gender balance, but in sense, coming back a little bit to the communication, our experience in Jiu Valley, again, Romania, is actually that we are too poor for, I mean, the money for the communication is too much for what we do, but too less for what we should do. So in general, because we try, of course, and the communication market is so, information is everywhere at the moment, and in order to penetrate actually with some messages which are not very easy to reach different kind of audiences if it's vulnerable, but not only if it's vulnerable, you need to invest a lot of money into it, to be honest, because the market is actually very, very, very big. And I was wondering, because you were, to Constantin, I mean here, I was referring I'm always about solutions. Let's see how we can make it actually. One of the, just to give you a little bit of an insight from what we do in terms of communication, we are thinking that if we bundle, for example, different kind of regions, because regions which don't have capacity to implement projects, trust me, they don't have capacity to do really a very good communication, from my experience at least, and there could be a solution in actually bundling some of the regions at national level, for example, and have a coordinated strategy with somebody which actually, of course, works with the local level. Would this be a solution, or have you identified other means where we can actually be very much present, or just some thoughts on practicalities of it? Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander, for the question. Let me say some words about the question that Alexander put on me. Well, we have to think out of the box, and I think that we should do in this situation, because Romania is not the only country, but in the same goal happens to other countries as well, is how to communicate together. And this is something that we should we had in thought in the working groups, in the stakeholder working groups, with the support of the Just Transition Secretariat that are working on. In the first working group, that our theme has been the communication. Then we have developed a communication tool about how the regions can communicate easily, more easily, the Just Transition process, because as it is accepted that there is a gap between theory and practice. Because some countries consider that they have got a lot of money about communication and they want to limit this funding, but others consider that they have got a lot of funding in communication and there is no need for any other resources. So what actually we'll do in the next steps in the frame of this action 2 of even Just Stakeholder Engagement Working Groups is that we wanted to develop a good communication practices guide, and this good communication practice guide could be, let's say, a driver for the other countries how to face and what to do on communication issues. What happened in the communication strategy for the country that communication went well, and why in other countries communication and the stakeholder engagement didn't go well? What has been the reasons for the successful and unsuccessful strategies? But from my experience and having in mind the responses of the experts in this survey, we have got more or less the same, let's say, feeling that there are communication strategies per country. There is not a communication there is not a communication strategy at European level about the just transition process, and this is an issue. In my opinion, it should be that the guidelines from the European Commission, we should have common messages, common vision, because if we have got a collective action, then it's true. We speak with one voice, and if we speak with one voice, things become easier for the target groups to find out, to learn about what this transition is. And if the target groups learn more about this just transition, then the communication will be easier, and how to convey the meaning to those target group. And another issue that it is very important in the communication strategies, I think that somehow we should combat misinformation and disinformation about the just transition issues. This misinformation in communication creates a lot of creates a lot of problems and obstacles how to convey the meaning and how to reach the target groups. And if we don't finally have a joint communication strategy, and if we go alone per country, then I consider that the obstacles and the problem will remain there. So in practice, I will say that we should adopt the good communication practices, and I suggest following the results of these actions of the working group, because there will be a communication guide about the good communications practices, and that can used in other countries as well. To wrap up, I think communication is a big issue, and because it is a very important issue, because on communication is based how to approach and how to reach those that are getting involved in communication, and how all these plans that were made in Europe about just transition process, how those that the target groups, those that are get affected by this coal phasing out process, will get the ownership of this plan and be part of this plan. And only if they become part of this plan, if they contribute to the implementation of this plan, then we will be at the end talking about just transition in EU countries.
Before giving the floor to the next question, may I be a bit provocative to the rest of the panel? Because here I have, the need to have common narratives is clear. That's we've been trying to work on that under the colleagues sitting there in the corner, and our colleagues and the Just Transition working groups and all different elements. Isn't there a risk that if you have templates rather than good stories to be adapted locally, that we can fail the local communities? Because we have common problems, but every region is a different case. Every region has a different balance of stakeholders, a different history, a different future as well, and different visions for the future. How can we balance this need for a common communication with the need that came across all your presentations for a targeted communication to different groups adapt to the local communities. Does anyone of you want to pick up on this? You go on first before while I let them speak, since this is forward.
Good question, I would say. How to from common communication strategy, but we say that there is not a just transition fit approach to the country because each region has its own characteristics. But we should keep in mind that when we're talking about just transition, it's the same concept for all countries. So if we have got the same concept, then yes, probably and obviously, we can tailor this common concept to the region. But we have got, if we follow the common steps, I think then it will be easier to have a target region strategy for communication issues as well.
Yes, but the best stories, I think that it's better to come from a local level. It's good to hear that near you. It's something is good is actually when you have a good story in your country or in your region, it's better to hear it and to take it and to be honest with your people and to tell a story how good is to be good in that field, but on your local level.
Anita, do you want to add something?
Yes, I think I like this idea, and I would like to continue with this, that what we also use on a daily basis is peer stories. So nothing convinces better than your neighbor who is in already and who can share the motivation. And sometimes this is what I say, that bring down the EU goals to the local level. Yes, the strategy is a good idea and the guidelines should be there, but I think on a regional level and local level, there will definitely be these local action plans for the communication adapted to the circumstances which are on a local basis. So yeah, stories definitely works good.
You want to add something, Agnes?
Just a reflection. I mean, it's very good to share best practices and learn from each other. I was just, when I heard this question, I was also thinking back, more to the local level and what I mentioned before about this Green Industrial Forum where the industries and the municipalities are exchanging, and because there's active work also on thinking what messages or what topics do we have that are common to all of us, and where do we need to be very specific on what we are doing ourselves. So I think it's very important to look at both those aspects to make sure that you get the communication through in a way that makes justice to the just transition.
I think where we're heading to is that we need several layers of communication. We need a broad common communication, understand, because we're on this boat all together, and then to trickle down to the local stories, to reach all the different levels, and that connects everything we've said. We have time for another couple questions. I had someone raising the arm earlier on, losing the inspiration by all the questions. No, I see no further questions. Okay, if there's no, yes, please go on.
We have a question from the chat. It's a question for Emilia, and it's from Nevena Smiljevska-Kulovic, and she's first of all applauding that somebody is here from Western Balkans, and then she is saying that there is a document created by civil society on the local level that could serve as a tutorial plan for just transition for the municipality of Bitola. And would the municipality be open to tabling this at the municipal council for adoption? And that could place Bitola as the first municipality in the Western Balkans to have a TJTP. Yeah, that's the question.
And a very good one.
Yeah, okay, thanks to Nevena. As you mentioned in the question, yes, according to that forums, it was one document, but unfortunately, until now, because we were in a period of local election, they are not finished yet, sorry. They will finish at the beginning of November, and after that we will discuss actually about this territorial local plan. We have our strategy for energy efficiency in our municipality, and also a few more documents, and we really try to do our best in this plan. Actually, as a national level, you know that we have Just Transition Roadmap, and actually it's a guide for our transition and in our way to the just transition process. So this plan, I hope that it will be adopted soon in our council, and according that forums also, we have local economic, on a local economic level, we should actually, we have communication between local level and level of our government, because in that working group there is a connection between government and local level. Also, all plans on the local level from that Just Transition forums, we will be presented in that working groups, and after that to the Ministry Council in our country. So we have that connection from local level to government level, because it was actually our priority to have that connection, because you know it's not good when you have decisions on the top level, on national level in Skopje, and the situation down there on a field in Bitola is much, it's not the same as in Skopje, I will say. So I think the answer of the question is that I think that very soon we will start with our new projects, and we will discuss about this plan in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the question online and for reading it for us. The reminder that we are many in this room, but many more online following this conversation, and I see with great interest on the territorial just transition plans. This is something that was a big challenge when we started just transition 6 years ago now, or almost 6 years ago, and they took off easier in some places than in others. They require a lot of administrative capacity, a lot of local involvement, a lot of engagement by all sectors, from the national level to the local level, the public and the private sector, the NGOs. Juvel is an excellent example of people involved in the local territorial just transition plan. And it's really satisfactory to see someone who's been following just transition from the very beginning, from when we're still drafting the regulation of the Just Transition Fund, to see that this idea is catching up beyond the Just Transition Fund, and it's an idea that really needs to catch up beyond Just Transition, because it's about having a national, European strategy, national strategies, but then having the local communities thinking about what they really need, and how they can use the resources available. And I'm not talking only of financial resources, the human resources, the industrial resources, and financial resources available to transform that region for the future. Thank you for sharing that experience and for the question online on that, because I'm really pleased to see the idea of the territorial just transition plan being expanded beyond strictly accessing the Just Transition Fund money, because sometimes we do things because we have to do paper to access EU money, but we had proved in many of the Just Transition regions, we have almost 100 Just Transition regions in the EU, that this local instrument, making it very local, had a huge impact, and I hope for the next programming period we'll have many communities thinking alongside the ideas of the territorial just transition plans, no matter what we will call them and what they will call them, no matter if they're linked to any specific fund or funding instrument. It's about thinking the community. Sorry, I got a bit enthusiastic about this one. Thanks for asking me this question. But it's really something I praise a lot, because it had a huge impact. I'll do a last check if there's any more questions. I see everyone think about where is coffee. Let me then thank the panel for this very, very engaging debate. In the end, we have a very common, a lot of common topics that we could identify. The need to have this common idea being trickled down to the local communities, to have different communication approaches to different groups. To reach out to those that don't want to be reached out is a big challenge. That in the end we spoke a bit, but maybe we need to exploit more in the future. How to reach out? It's a challenge we have from the beginning. How to reach out to those that don't want to be that are skeptical. How to fight disinformation again is something that we only briefly mentioned. Maybe because we still need to think thoroughly about all the instruments we can have and how we can go about fighting the polarized society that is bringing distrust in process that will happen and that we are all working daily on trying to explain to people that we are not bringing about the transition. We are trying to make it just, not making the transition will happen, be it just or not. We had many industrial transitions in the past, and many of them went very badly because there were no effort to manage them. That's what we're trying to do here. Maybe we cannot do also over-manage. That's why we need involvement of the communities that you all have been talked about. The importance of being transparent and inclusive was another ideas that you passed, and thank you for that. All the engagement of the society that you are trying to bring, the engagement of the workers, of the local authorities, of NGOs, the engagement of everyone who has some saying and hope for the regions where they are. Thank you very much for coming to Brussels and for joining us here today. Thanks for our questions and for being such a great audience.